Hi everyone. So it's been a while since I've done a video where I haven't been doing a review or an announcement where it's just me by myself. I've been doing obviously a lot of other videos discussing various other things with my sister, which we both really enjoy doing. But I thought I'd do a couple by myself this weekend because of a few factors. Firstly, I've got nothing to do this weekend, which is glorious, especially on the build up to Christmas. I have finished all of my Christmas shopping. Yay! I don't have to go to town for anything. There's nothing on at cinema at the moment that I want to see, so I can just chill at home and read. Secondly, and this is why, I don't know if you can see, but I've got my duvet with me. I am freezing. It is, I think, -2 degrees C at the moment outside. When I woke up this morning, my house was about 12 degrees. I've had the heating on for a while, and it's now, sorry, my thing's over there, it's now 14 and a half. I am freezing. So I'm in my pajamas, I've got a jumper on top, and I've got my duvet with me, keeping me warm. So there's that. And the season. Now, at this time of year, I get very sporadic with my reading, what I watch, what I listen to. And I think that's because of the weather, if I'm honest. I have this thing where every day I could be in a slightly different mood to watch something or read something or listen to something. So I'm constantly changing my mind. It's only because of the book challenge that I started, the last year, that I got into this mode of no, you have to read this one thing at this current time because that's what you need to do for this challenge. And it's helped me, stick with other stuff. For this challenge, so I'm reading The Tenant Wildflower Hall at the minute. I haven't really had time much to read this week, so I'm using this weekend to dedicate time to that. But I wanted to stop and do this video because, I want to open up a discussion about what I like to read and listen to and such and watch at this kind of time of year, and I hope you guys will get involved as well. So I have got stacks of stuff by my sofa, and my duvet is kind of giving me a restricted kind of room, so I'm going to be constantly bobbing down and stuff to get stuff, but it's just, to hold up things to give. These are just examples of some of the things that I like to watch and listen to in such this time of year. I actually have on my iPod a Christmas playlist, and this playlist, okay, yes, it has some specific Christmas related albums on it, but it's actually albums and songs and pieces that I like to listen to specifically at this time of year. So I listen to a lot of like Enya and Celtic Woman, and also other things like Hayley Westenra and film scores. Like I really, really love listening to things like Henry V, and Emma and Harry Potter and stuff like that at this time of year, because the feel of it just brings something out of me and really lifts me up and makes me feel good. But first of all, let's talk about things that I like to read and watch. And the first genre is comedy. Now, comic books. I don't really have many comic specific books. I do have like some chick lit kind of thing because I really like Sophie Kinsella. I think she's a really good writer. But even though they have funny moments, they're not funny books, as it were. So I went to the book that always cheers me up, always makes me giggle. I really love her, and that is Miranda Hart's Is It Just Me? This is the first book that she's written, because she's written another one called Peggy and Me, which I've also got, but I haven't had a chance to read yet. And that's about her and her dog. And I think actually she's got a third book, which is actually just scripts from her TV show Miranda, so it's not the same. But this is basically her talking about elements of life, things from when she's a teenager to adulthood now. And she's very much a free-spirited kind of woman, and she doesn't like the absurd things of adulthood, of having to be serious all the time. Why can't we have fun? Why can't we be like children again? Kind of let's just do this sporadic thing and just see what happens. And this book, she tells stories from her childhood, from obviously teenhood and everything, and from adulthood. And just it was so fun to read, and so I like, and that every chapter is a different story. So I'll you don't you, obviously reading, if you read through all of it, she's talking about different elements and then concludes with how she feels about everything at the end and brings all of them together. But you can pick it up and just read a chapter, a story, and go, oh, that was fun and such. And I tend to like to do that with this book for Miranda Hart. She's absolutely brilliant. I also recommend her TV series Miranda. It ran for 3 series, and then they had like a Christmas New Year couple of episodes which ended everything. She's hilarious, she's fantastic. I adore Miranda, it's brilliant. The other comedies I like to watch are things like Monty Python. So Life of Brian is always close to my TV set when a DVD/Blu-ray player, when this time of year rolls around. And also kind of darker comedies like Black Books. Black Books is really, really awesome series about a group of kind of quirky friends who run, well, one of them runs, well, technically, okay, 2 of them runs a shop called Black Books. Yeah, Bernard, Manny, and Fran are the characters' names. Fran is best friends with Bernard, and Bernard owns a shop, but Manny kind of comes in the first episode and becomes sort of like a co-owner, but really he runs everything, and everything. And it's really, really quirky, really funny series. I recommend it to anyone. I absolutely love Black Books, and the fact that it's set in a bookshop, it just clicks with me. I absolutely adore it. Okay, so now and just over to something else that I occasionally just love to dip in and just, oh god, I absolutely love it. Magic. Now, when I say magic specifically, I'm talking about Harry Potter and of course the films and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Because it's JK. It's wintry. I love coming home and just sticking on like Fantastic Beasts or Harry Potter. Go to Hogwarts, have a meal in the Great Hall, watch the snow fall, imagine that you're there, kind of thing. These just propel me in winter to that kind of world and everything, and I adore it. It gives me a warm fuzzy feeling inside. JK and winter are just perfect partners. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, now on another fantasy kind of elements, I like to explore new and old, or older, should I say, aspects of fantasy. So I adore reading or watching the Lord of the Rings books/films, and of course The Hobbit. These I've loved since I was a kid. My dad's a huge J.R.R. Tolkien fan, and so it's just kind of stuck with me, and I adore them. But again, this time of year just propels me to Middle Earth, just as it propels me to Hogwarts and such. I just adore curling up on the sofa and falling headfirst into this realm that I adore. I love Middle Earth so much. If it's a case, if you ever got like this thing of you could go to any location within any book, where would you go? Hobbiton, straight off. Even though I adore Harry Potter and I would love to go to Hogwarts, Middle Earth is like within my core of my soul. I love Hobbiton. I'd love to go there. And when it comes to kind of newer fantasy, because it's just absolutely awesome, X-Men. I mean, come on, do I have to explain any further than that? It's just so wonderful how it explores so many elements of human nature and links them to this fantasy-esque thing of people having powers and what does it mean and why have they got the powers that they have, and yeah, exploring the natures of people, and especially with like these films where it goes further back to when they were younger, exploring how they got to where they are and decisions that they make in like during the war and stuff like this, and how it affects future generations and such. It's a wonderful examination of human nature. So yeah, so I adore watching that. Now, when it comes to the winter, obviously it's dark outside really early. It's dark whenever I leave the house to go to work. I'm basically living in darkness. So why not enjoy it while you're there? So I like to read kind of darker books like Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is absolutely phenomenal. If I did a book review of it when I read it last year. This is just awesome. I love it. Weirdly though, I actually looked at my bookshelf. I'm gonna talk about audio books and dramas in a minute. So I do have an audio drama of Frankenstein, but I don't actually own a film copy of Frankenstein, which really surprised me. I thought I did, but then when you do think about it, there hasn't really been many, because you had the original, like the 1930s one with Boris Karloff, and then you had the Kenneth Branagh one in the early 90s, I think it was. Yeah, maybe about 94-esque. I'm not entirely sure. But that's a good film version. It is pretty faithful to the book, so I will give it a thumbs up for that. But this is just the the Frankenstein in his lab and his experiments, and the lightning going crazy and all this lot, and seeing this creature come to life and how it affects him and everything. It's just perfect for me for winter to read this. So yeah, Mary Shelley. And for a dark thing to watch, which I've talked about with my sister in a video about British versus international writing, Inside Number 9. This is amazing. I love it. These are half an hour little like mini plays, so it doesn't matter what series you come into, what episode you come into, there's nothing that connects them apart from that they all happen in a location that relates to number 9. And this is written by Reese Smith and Steve Pemberton, and they do this absolutely amazing thing where they set a scene, they take you on this journey, you learn so much about the characters, and then you get this kind of like dagger to the heart or to the stomach. You're just like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And it really shakes you, and makes you feel a bit sick and a bit quirky. It's just perfect. It needs a kind of tingly kind of feeling, and then that's it ends. And I just love curling up on the sofa when it's dark and putting this on, and just so thoroughly enjoying it. There's been 3 series so far. There is a 4th series that's going to be coming, but we don't know when. But yeah, I recommend that. And another series which I don't have on DVD but I watched on Netflix is League of Gentlemen, which they were also in before they went on to do Inside Number 9, and that's brilliant. The 3rd series is not that great, I'll admit. It's actually coming back after like 20 years or something this Christmas on BBC Two, for I think it might be a 1 or 2 episodes, I can't remember, but as one-off sort of thing. And I'm just like, I'm so excited to see that. That'd be absolutely brilliant. But that kind of, if you watch that or Psychoville, which they also did, you can understand why they did this, because they link so well together. It's this dark humour that's just awesome. Okay, so now then I have this weird, after going through like darkness and comedy and fantasy and all this lot, I then get this need to relive old Hollywood. And I think it's to do with Christmas, the schedules at Christmas on TV, because you get like Singing in the Rain and stuff like this, 7 by 7 Brothers, and all of these old films just come flooding out into TV and puts me in a really good mood. And I have always always adored old Hollywood films. I've got so many black and white films upstairs from like the 1930s and that, 1940s musicals, the 1950s. I adore musicals, as you guys all know. So I like to read about that time, and I find especially MGM, they were fascinating. When you go back to like the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and the way that stars were contracted to that studio. You did the films that they told you to do. You went on the dates that they told you to do. You were not allowed to do anything without their permission. And so a lot of the stars came to pressures, came to alcohol, came to drug addictions and such. And it's really fascinating. The psychology behind it is wow. So one book that I really enjoy reading is The Golden Girls of MGM Glamour and Grief by Jane Ellen Wayne. This follows about a dozen or so female MGM stars, and basically tells you their stories from for their time that they were MGM stars. It does a bit about their life before and after, so you find out what happened to them. But I found this so fascinating because it was about the women of MGM, which sounds strange, but if you think about it, apart from like Judy Garland or like maybe Elizabeth Taylor or something like that, you don't get a book that focuses on a collection of women in the film industry at that time. You get a lot of men, obviously, like Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra, Fred Astaire, that kind of thing. But you don't have this collection of women. So finding this was an absolute gem for me. And I really, really enjoyed reading about these women, what they went through, and everything. It was just wow. So I strongly, strongly recommend this book. It was so provocative and thought-provoking, and really brought them to life as women, not the stars that we see on the screen and everything. So yeah, I strongly recommend that. And a modern take on old Hollywood, which I just adore and just gives me a warm fuzzy feeling whenever I watch it. La La Land. Of course, it has to be La La Land, because La La Land's awesome. I understand that some people don't like it, like my sister. She didn't like it at all. But because I love that time, and it just brought back all these memories from my childhood of watching these films and adoring them, and some of them, the shot references to various films, and especially the big sequence near the end that is so An American in Paris. It was just wow for me. So yeah, so La La Land is another one that I like to watch. Okay, then this is this is the end of the first lot that's on my sofa. So after I've said about these things, I'm going to be bobbing down to get stuff off the floor, just so you're aware. Okay, so then after I've looked at real life glitz and glam, I like to look at kind of real life-esque, and I suppose fiction as well, crime. And a key example of this is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Now, I read this after the TV drama that came out, I think, was it last Christmas? Or it might be the Christmas before, I can't remember. And yeah, it might be a couple of years ago now. That's what the cover art for this, because this was the only cover art book that I could get. I watched the drama, I liked it, then I read the book, and the book blew me away, and then I rewatched the drama. I'm like, yeah, this drama is absolutely rubbish compared to the book. And I had a really in-depth discussion with my sister about this, because she loves the book as well. And yeah, and there's something about this book that just is so perfect. The way Agatha Christie chooses her words, the way in which she forms sentences. She tells you so much in so few words. It is a masterclass of crime writing. And it's so bleak and dark and just, oh god, it just captures me wholeheartedly, and you get kind of paranoid, or at least I do when I read it, especially the sequence where there's four of them left and they're so terrified that they're literally in a room, each in a corner, and they're just staring at each other, and they're trying to figure out which one of them is the killer. And there has this back and forth inside each of their heads, and but she doesn't refer to who's thinking at that moment, but you know who's thinking that thought because of how you've gotten to know the characters. It is astonishing book, and so I like to, yeah, when it's dark and cold and sinister outside, I like to go somewhere sinister in fiction. Another kind of, well, it's not sinister, but it's still kind of crime-esque, and it's funny, yeah, it's dark, and it's so beautifully filmed, is Stalag 17. Now, this is a war film that not many people know about, and it's so frustrating because it won William Holden, the main character, it won him an Oscar. It's a fabulous war film, and I implore all of you who watch this, go out and find this film and watch it because it's brilliant. It's set in a POW camp, a group of Americans in a camp in Germany, and it begins with two of them trying to get out, to bust out the camp, and they get caught. And it's all about meeting the characters, how they work and everything, and there is they come to think that perhaps the only way that the guards knew to be in that position to be when the two guys tried to break out meant that they knew, so there must be a mole inside their huts. In Stalag 17 is the camp's name, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and it's so perfectly crafted, and when it's revealed, the truth is revealed, it is so awesome. I adore the character Joey. Joey is phenomenal. He is a pilot who he doesn't say a word. He was shot down over enemy lines, and the trauma of it has meant that he can't talk anymore. He moves very slowly as well. He's always watching, and you know that he knows something, and it's just, here's the look on his face. The last time you have a shot of just his face at the end of the film is just perfection. I love Stalag 17. So if you haven't seen it, please go out and find this. It is an absolute gem, and everyone who I've recommended this to have gone to find it, and they've come back to me and said, how did I not know about this film? This was absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, so I hope that means that, you know, my review is not just me like being over the top because I love it. It is genuinely brilliant. So that's Stalag 17. And on the crime-esque, I also, as I said, like to look at true crime. Now, I've got some true crime books upstairs in my study, but, you know, they're very sporadic, or they're only like certain periods, like Victorian period and that kind of thing. But a kind of more modern one, a modern film that I love to watch, and it's directed by my favourite director of all time, Heavenly Creatures by Peter Jackson. Now, this tells a true story of two teenagers in New Zealand in the 1950s who became friends, and their friendship grew to be an absolute obsession with each other, which then led to a crime that shook New Zealand, and it was pretty shocking to the world as well. But it's gotten lost over time. But then this film in 1994 really propelled it back into the stratosphere, as it were, and it is so beautifully filmed. It's Kate Winslet's first ever film. It's so well constructed. His wife Fran Walsh, and he are so good at making films, and they look at every single aspect. They don't just say, okay, we're just going to focus on how these girls were just psychos, or something. Well, no, we're going to look at their home lives. We're going to look at them as people, as individuals, and them together, and what that all means. And they were really, the real life girls, and they explore this in the film as well. They had this fantasy that there was a fourth world and what that meant, and they wrote all these stories, and they built clay models, and these clay models come to life in the film. It's so beautifully done, so perfect, very respectful as well, I think, to the actual people affected by it. And Peter Jackson, they actually filmed at the location where the murder took place, but they said when they got there, it was so eerie that they couldn't film at the spot where it happened, so they actually had to go like a bit away from the real place where the crime happened. Because yeah, he said even the birds stopped singing. It was they wouldn't go near it. So he was said, I'm too freaked out by this, and that's really strange because Peter Jackson is like, he before this, he did splatter horror films, and because of this, that led him on to various other things, which then led on to the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, King Kong, all that lot, and he's become this big name in the film industry for directing, because of this film, and it's beautiful, so I strongly recommend that. Okay, so now I'm going to start bombing down onto my to my sofa. So actually, if I do a big chunk, if you just bear with me a sec, I'll get all these up here. Okay, so the next thing I like to explore is history. Now, I'm going to hold up a book which is technically a crime novel. So you think, oh, it comes under the crime section that I just did. But it's an historical crime novel and explores history beautifully. So, a period of history, should I say, so the Tudor dynasty it explores. So I have put it under the history-related section. And that is C.J. Sansom's historical crime series. This is the first book, Dissolution. There's been, I think, 5 books now. 6. I absolutely love them. They're known as the Shardlake collection, because Shardlake is the main character. He's the detective of the story. And the first book begins when Jane Seymour has just died, Henry VIII's third wife, and it's all explores the dissolution of the monasteries. And at one of these monasteries, a murder has taken place, and he has been commissioned basically to go off and find out what's happened. And he is so precise with certain things, the way that he talks about the life of just a general Tudor person. It's so realistic. You feel like you're straight in there at that moment. And it doesn't matter that there's been a massive gap, obviously, between Tudor dynasty and now. He doesn't like waffle on for pages and pages and explains how specific things change. He just tells you what you need to know, and it feels so real that you're just, you're in that moment. And he's so good as C.J. Sansom. So good, in fact, that Heartstone, the one before last book that came out, I think it was Heartstone was one before last, had me crying my eyes out. It is a crime novel, and I am sat there crying my eyes out. So much so that my dad heard me. This is when I was living at home. He came upstairs and he was like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And I'm crying over this book. And he's like, "Oh, for crying out loud!" And he just went back downstairs again. I was in floods of tears. My dad thought there was something seriously wrong. That's why he came running upstairs, and he just found me crying over a book. But yeah, the Shardlake series is phenomenal. Shardlake is a lawyer. He's a hunchback. He's got problems with his legs as well, the way that he walks and everything. So he stands out a bit from the crowd. But he very much, he's very well respected because of his level in society, being a lawyer. Because automatically, because he was a hunchback and that, he would be classed as a sinner, because it was believed at that time that if you were born with a deformity, you sinned at some point in your life, so you got what you deserved, basically. And so you were looked down upon, you were shunned, you weren't allowed to, quite a lot of disabled people in that time weren't able to get employment or anything because of their disability and what that meant. So the fact that he's gotten up into this level of society where he is respected, he has dealings with the royal family, it's a big deal. And so yeah, CJ Sanson explores elements of history, brings himself in such a realistic way, only shows you what you need to know, and then takes you on this absolutely wonderful journey through these books. I love Matthew Shardlett. I think he's wonderful, wonderful character. The most recent book, Lamentation, finished when Henry VIII has died. So you think that'd be the end of the series, but CJ Sanson has referred to the fact that it's not, that there's going to be more. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, it's wonderful. So yeah, it's 1537, the first book. And yeah, Matthew's just absolutely amazing. And it also explores the things of what is supported at that time with Reformation and everything, how Matthew's attitudes change over time as well because of what he witnesses. Especially I adore his focus on women into his life and how he feels about them. He's such an amazing character, and I'm always trying to figure him out throughout reading the books, and I just love him. So yeah, CJ Sanson's Matthew Shardlett collection, the first book being Dissolution, really recommend. I actually got these from my sister, the first three books from my sister for a birthday years ago. I started reading one, couldn't stop, and I've just been, every time new CJ Sanson books out, oh, I'm so excited. But I have to wait a year because I got the first, I'm like this, my sister exactly the same, because if you get like the first book in a certain format, all the other book series of the series needs to be in that same format, so I have to like wait a year for it to come out into the small paperback version in order to then buy it, which is a bit frustrating, but that's the way it is. Okay, so anyway, back to history. When it comes to historical films, there's lots of period dramas that I love to watch, but I didn't want to go down the period drama route in that way of course, there's like all the BBC, Charles Dickens, Jane Austen, all that jazz. I wanted to look at, which actually I've probably shown up DVDs to you, covers to you previously. I wanted to look at other historical films that I like to watch. So here are four. The first one is Anna Karenina. There we go. From the 90s with Sean Bean and Sophie Marceau. This is a very, very good film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember when I was a teenager, my sister really liked this film, and I can remember watching it with her multiple times. And I really like Sean Bean. I think he's awesome. That's why I don't like James Bond. I will say it now. I'm British and I don't like James Bond, but I will watch GoldenEye over and over and over again because I love Sean Bean in it. Anyway, there's a little bit of trivia about me. There's something about this adaptation that is just beautiful, and I think what the director did, I can't remember who directed this now. It's Bernard Rose. It was that he used music that was around at that time, and a lot of like the music from Swan Lake is just gorgeous. I can't even say the word. Tchaikovsky's score for that, how it builds up, how it covers love and passion and darkness and everything. It just fits Anna Karenina so well. The cinematography is beautiful. It's well acted. I just adore going to it, and the score. Whenever I hear Tchaikovsky, since I first watched this film, all I can think of is the dance sequence where Anna dances. Sophie and Sean Bean, their characters, dance with each other for the first time in the ballroom, and then she runs off, and then the ending, the main suite, as it were, from Swan Lake, that da 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 da, is her running like crazy out of the hall, and then the door slam behind her. How it flows with their dancing and what's happening in that moment. It's just fabulous. I love it. The second one, because again, the score is incredible. It's beautifully shot. It places me in a period that I love, is the Age of Innocence. Now this is different because even though it is set in, the 1880s, which there is a lot of period dramas that I've got upstairs to do, it's set in New York in the 1880s. Now the only other period drama that I can think of that's set at that time that I have in my DVD collection upstairs and such is something like Little Women, which takes place in Concord, and then it moves to New York and then goes back again. It's just that period. I love Little Women. Little Women is just, it's very Christmas for me. I was gonna put it in this hold up, as I said, I wanted to show stuff that I hadn't really held up to you guys before, so thus I didn't add it in this one. But yeah, Little Women is the only other one I can think of where that kind of happens. So to have that in a whole film that's set in New York in the 1880s, which is so wonderfully done. The cinematography, especially in this film, I think is one of my favourite cinematography that Scorsese directed. I'm saying it now. The score is phenomenal. The use of lighting is amazing. Like, there's this absolutely awesome scene where Daniel Day-Lewis's character he's received a letter from his lover Ellen, who's played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and his wife, played by Winona Ryder, has handed it to him, and he opens the letter, and all of a sudden everything around him, including him, kind of goes dark, apart from this like letterbox panel across his eyes, and you hear what the letter is and what she's saying to him, and the fact that his wife handed him that letter in that moment is all the more like mental. It's so good, that moment, but that use of the letterbox, and then is suddenly all the light suddenly fades into the room, and another sequence where it just goes round a room, just a camera, it's in the middle, and it just revolves round all the way around. Obviously I can't turn my wrist 360, a room, and you learn things that happened in that room, and you see things happening, and how that was done was just perfection. Scorsese, this is one of your best in my opinion. I love it. And the last two kind of historical ones, a kind of more recent one, The Danish Girl. Very bold film for the LGBTQ QI community. This was beautiful. I went to the cinema. I can't remember what as I was seeing, but it was when this trailer launched, and of course in the cinema people are talking, they're eating, all that lot. This began to play and everybody stopped. You could hear a pin drop in that screening. It was full of people. I can't remember. I can't for the life of me remember what it was, but it was really busy, and you could hear a pin drop. It just caught everyone, and I just knew the moment I saw that trailer, I am going to love this film. Eddie Redmayne is going to be phenomenal in this film, and he was. It's so wonderful how this is a real life story and explores all of these aspects to do with being transgender, questions that get asked, how your loved ones get affected, how society at that time reacted to to those who were confused about who they were, and the hospital treatments were just awful, which gets explored in this as well. It's stunning, absolutely stunning, and I like to, even though it's tragically sad, I can't help but love watching it, which, yeah, it sounds weird, but you know, it's the way it is. And the final historical film that I want to show you, I actually wrote a poem about in my creative writing college class a few weeks ago, and got told it was so good that it could go straight into like be published in a magazine, which shocked the heck out of me because I don't write poetry. I'm not good at poetry, but apparently it was really good. And that's Dangerous Beauty. This is the story of Veronica Franco, who in the 16th century, she was head over heels in love with a man called Marco Venier, who was played by Rufus Sewell, the absolutely fabulous Rufus Sewell, in this. And because she was of a lower station, they couldn't marry. So her mother said, well, the way you can have him is to become a courtesan, which is basically a prostitute. But a courtesan was somebody who was one who mingled at parties of well-known people, like politicians and rich men and everything, to get money from them. But in order to do that, they needed to be smart. So they were like the most educated women. They had to know everything that was going on in the political world. They had to speak multiple languages. They had all of this opportunity, whereas a woman at that time who came from a rich family or whatever had very little education. So, and Veronica loved to read. She wrote a couple of volumes of poetry in her time of being a courtesan. She was so bold a character, really stood up for people, and her story is astonishing, and it's so beautifully told in this film, Dangerous Beauty. In some countries it's known as The Honest Courtesan, but here in the UK it's called Dangerous Beauty. So if you want to see it, it came out in 1998. It's fantastic. It's so beautifully done, and Veronica's poems are featured in it. So this is just so nice to watch, and I've watched it so many times I could pretty much recite the entire script off by heart. I know that well. Okay, so that's history out the way. Now, classics. And the classic that I'm only going to hold up one classic, because if I did classic, I would be like holding up several and it would go on forever. But the classic, because it's winter, because Christmas, it's A Christmas Carol. Now, I'm actually going to be doing a video after this about Charles Dickens, and I'm going to talk about this a lot more, because the other day I went to see The Man Who Invented Christmas. Awesome film, you should watch. But yeah, A Christmas Carol, I have, just as I think every single person when they were a child, they watched the DVD I'm going to hold up, which is A Muppet Christmas Carol. I was kind of obsessed with this film. It is still my tradition that every single year when I go to wrap my Christmas presents, which I'm going to be doing this weekend, I have to watch this film whilst I'm wrapping my Christmas presents. It's just what I do. I absolutely adore Charles Dickens. A Christmas Carol is a phenomenal piece of work. The way it explores poverty and the rich, what's the sins of the past, the sins of the present, how you affect mankind, and of course Tiny Tim and all that lot. It is an amazing look. It holds up a mirror to society and goes, what the hell are you doing? And that's what I think, that it has become like one of the biggest book relating to Christmas and that there has ever been, and there ever will be. It will never die, this story. It is truly phenomenal, a piece, and I like to read A Christmas Carol. It makes me reflect on me and my year and what I've been doing. I tend to read it each year, and And I think it does the same that with anybody who reads it. And as the man who invented Christmas said at the end, how this came out, I think it was like December 16th or something, and overnight charitable donations skyrocketed because people started reading this. They were like, oh my God, what have I actually done? I haven't done it. Yeah, I'm going to help the poor. I'm going to do what I can. And treating men, no matter what their level of society, as people is so important in this book, and of course in the films, various film versions has been as well. It's amazing. I do like to watch also the 1951 version of it's called Scrooge, which is a Christmas Carol adaptation. I don't actually own a DVD copy, which is really annoying, but it's absolutely brilliant. Alistair Sim is great Scrooge. There are two versions, just so you know, the black and white version, which is the one that came out, and then there's a version where they coloured it in, and that one tends to be shown at Christmas now, and it really irritates me. So yeah, don't watch the coloured one because it's awful. It's been really badly done. So if you're able to see the black and white version of Scrooge from 1951 starring Alistair Sim, watch it. It's fantastic. Okay, now going on to another historical piece, but this is a more weightier historical piece. So thus I've kept it separate from the other ones, and that is this particular book. It's not the particular genre; it's the particular book. The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Now, this I've held up before in video. Is set in medieval times. It's about an area, a group of people that come together to build a cathedral, and the lives of those in that town and how they're affected and everything by it being constructed. It is just, I have hardly any words to describe how much I love. You know that thing where you love a book so much that you can't convey in words why you love it. I don't know if I'm just the only one here, but this is just awesome. I'll pop in and out of it. I won't necessarily sit and read the whole thing because it's like, I think it's about 1,300 pages or something ridiculous like that. Oh no, 1,075 pages. So it's a hefty read. But I love, there's certain characters in this who I really love, and Jack is one of them, played by, as you can see, this is the TV drama cover, played by Eddie Redmayne. He was absolutely fantastic. I really love Jack. I think he was awesome character. And it's another one with Rufus Sewell. Yay! So either the drama or the book, but I do tend to come to the book a lot. That I just, there's something about this, and it won't leave me alone, and so it will have a permanent place on my bookshelf. And yeah, the spine is, I don't know if you can see that, like, it's all broken and split and awful, but it's, you know, a mark of love that I've read. I've opened it and read it so many times, various times. I absolutely love it. And you know, I love, oh hang on, I just found one. I was just about to mention something and I've just flicked past it. I love things like this where each section it shows the kind of like the development of the church, and so this is part 2, 1136 to 1137, and this is drawings of the structure of the cathedral and how it's coming about. So you have all of these things that pop up throughout the course of this book, which are just phenomenal. Okay, right, I'm nearly there with the books, and I've got a few little bits of film, and then I'm going to go to audio books. So yeah, I'm nearly there. Now, the next bit are books and films that wouldn't go together, but I do like to read, and I think it's because it's the nature of war that links the these three examples. So the first one is Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. Now, the Hunger Games, as you guys will probably know, is a dystopian book series about a girl called Katniss who gets put into a game that she has to try to survive in order to get food and that for her her area where she lives in a dystopian America. Um, it's got so much, that book series. I could talk for hours about that book series, but I love the nature of war in it, especially in Mockingjay. The third book is absolutely brilliant. The views of family and stuff like that, and how they're affected. And family is key to kind of all three of these, as is war. So to be able to understand what I mean, the next one is a film that a colleague of mine told me about, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a go, and I was bawling my eyes out. Even by halfway through it, it was just heartbreakingly beautiful, and that's Grave of the Fireflies. This is a Japanese anime film which explores the Second World War by following a teenage boy, his baby sister, and his mother. His mother they get separated from, and she sadly dies very early on, and he has to try and get through the war. Look after his baby sister, but he keeps his baby sister completely sheltered from what is going on. So it's kind of like Life is Beautiful, that's it. I couldn't think what the film was called, where about a man who's a Jewish man in the 1940s in a concentration camp, and with his son, his little son, and he does things like he pretends that they're doing various things and tries to make him laugh in order to shelter him from the reality of what is actually happening. And that is what happened with Grave of Fireflies. And I asked my colleague when he gave me his copy to watch, I said, why is it called Grave of the Fireflies? That's such a weird title for a war film. Well, for any film. Why Grave of the Fireflies? And he went, watch it, you'll understand. And when I got to the point where it was revealed what that meant, I was gone. I was on the floor crying my eyes out. It's just perfect. So along with Starlight 17, I strongly recommend Grave of the Fireflies. And the other one, Birdsong, the amazing Birdsong. I recommend both the book and the drama, but I'm only holding up the drama for this video. But yeah, how the exploration of war and how it affects people and families and relationships, and how the beauty of the world is kind of sucked out and turned sepia and dark and cruel. Birdsong is an amazing exploration of that. And then finally, I've got last two parts. The quirky book. Now, this book I'm going to hold up, you're probably going, no, it's not that quirky. But when you think about it, compared to everything else and what it actually is about in winter, it's a bit weird. And it's a story about death. And that is The Book Thief. It's written by the point of view of death. He's exploring and doing various things, and how he comes across this girl and tells her story. In 1939 Nazi Germany. And you think, right, okay, reading about death in winter when it's really dark and hot, really? Yes, I do. I really like The Book Thief. It's a really interesting exploration of people, cruelty, abuse. And when I say abuse, I don't mean abusive relationships. Well, there is a bit of an abusive kind of element to it, but I mean that there's this whole section where there's a mass book burning, and to me, that if I ever witnessed something like that, that would destroy me. And I see that as kind of like an abusive nature of breaking someone down. So that's what I mean by that, which is explored in this book. It's so beautifully written, and it's such a great piece of work. And there is a film version as well. So there is, if you want to see that. My voice is starting to go funny now. Okay, so I'm going to speed through the rest of this as fast as I possibly can. Now, the last thing I really love to read, which I don't think I've actually mentioned much in the whole time that I've had this channel, nearly 2 years, I love to read plays. I love just curling up on sit, because I adore going to the theatre. So any chance I get to go to the theatre, I will. I've already booked, I think, 5 or 6, or maybe more than that, 5 or 6 tickets for next year for various theatre productions in my local theatre, because it's panto season now, so they just have panto up until the new year. But I like to buy the plays if I'm able to. So the plays I've got here are The Amazing Unexpected Cause, The Crucible by Arthur Miller. Sorry, The Inspector Calls is by J.P. Priestley. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. Equus by Peter Shaffer. That is awesome. Blood Brothers, it's a musical, but still, I don't care because I love musicals, by Willie Russell. I've seen it several times. I'm going again next year. I've already booked my ticket for it. And Warhorse by Nick Stafford. I've never had a chance to see Warhorse on stage. I would love to, but I've never had a chance. These are just, I love to pick up these little books, as it were, and just read through them and bring it to life in my mind of how I see things, and think back and remember the last time I saw it on stage, or in the case of Warhorse, not seeing it at all, how I would imagine it to be staged out, and that propels me to that world. I just absolutely love reading plays. So there are 5 that I recommend. Okay, so for my last bit then, I'm just going to look at, very, very quickly, look at other films that I love to watch at this time of year. And this is just going to be a quick fire thing. So, first off, I like to be drawn to, or I'm always drawn to, Brave. I love Brave. I have loved Brave since it very first came out. I went to see Brave 6 times in the cinema. Throughout the course that it was on. I bought it the day it came out. I have the Merida pop vinyl doll. I only bought it the other day because I didn't even know it existed. And I walked into HMV and there it was. And I was like, I am not leaving this shop without it. I love Merida. I think she's an awesome Disney princess. And Brave, what it covers and how it's about a daughter and mother relationship. And there isn't a love triangle-esque or a love story in it. I love that. I think it's wonderful. Another Disney that I like to go to, of course, Beauty and the Beast, because it's phenomenal. But I also like to explore with film. Character is so important to me. So thus, the characters of Merida and Belle are so strong and so powerful for young girls. And another really strong, powerful woman I find is, from The Colour Purple. All the characters actually in The Colour Purple are just amazing. But Celie, the main character, she is extraordinary. Steven Spielberg's adaptation of The Colour Purple is extraordinary. I also love to explore Shakespeare, because you know how I love Shakespeare, guys. So I've got the Much Ado About Nothing film, Ken Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing, which is amazing, one of my favourite Shakespeare films ever, and the most recent theatre piece of Shakespeare that I saw, may remember about this time last year, I did a video with my sister how we went to see The Tempest. They brought it out on Blu-ray. I got it the day, well actually I pre-ordered it and it came out a week, RSC posted it to me a week before it was officially released. Thank you, RSC. I was very happy with that. But this Blu-ray is absolutely phenomenal. I then have various, these are my kind of quirky ones because I love to laugh, and I say the links to the books and other films and that. So things like Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Dead Poets Society, Ever After, The Holiday, because it's a Christmas film and I just absolutely love it. It's a quirky Christmas film. Amelie, I adore Amelie. The film is so beautifully shot and the story is wonderful. And Saving Mr. Banks. Love at this time of year. And lastly, for films, there are 5 films, 5 in my DVD collection that just epitomizes my childhood. So I don't mind. I'm in like my early 30s. I don't care if people think it's weird that I've got these on my bookshelf, but they propel me back to my childhood, and I just adore them entirely. And I think they triggered my love for stories and film and everything. And so I I can't ignore them. So I have them on my DVD collection, and I don't care what people think. So the first one is An American Tail, the first film I ever saw. I was only probably about 6 months old at the time, so I don't remember it. But we had it on video, and I wore the tape out watching this film. I adored An American Tail. The next one was Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, which my aunt and uncle recorded for me on a blank tape. I recorded it off the telly and gave it to me, and I wore the tape out. The next one is the beautiful All Dogs Go to Heaven, Don Bluth film about two dogs that come across an orphan who can talk to animals and kind of use her because to win money for horse races and such, but really deep down their link and what they mean, and it breaks my heart every time I watch it. I love it. The Land Before Time. Now the film cover for the DVD, this is very sneaky. They put the film poster, which was what I remembered from my childhood, because the film poster was the video cover, and when I open my package, the DVD cover is that. Nah, that's not that. I expected the film poster cover. So yeah, I don't like the fact that they have this cover on the DVD. But The Land Before Time, the very first one, because there's been like 16 of them, because they started off, it was just a film. It was this wonderful film that has only like one kind of kind of song in it, but it's kind of in the background while stuff is going on. And then they turned them very cutesy and made them kids films, so that there was like 5 or 6 songs in each film, and they just, no, they don't work for me at all. I only like the first one, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's Don Bluth as well. And finally, Roald Dahl's The BFG. This I watched all the time as a kid. I love Roald Dahl as a kid, just as lots of children grew up loving. Obviously, now there's been a more recent Steven Spielberg film version, which I liked, but they changed lots of things in the book, and I didn't like the ending. They changed the ending, and that really disappointed me. But this one follows the book very well. So yeah, and David Jason being the voice of the BFG is great. So I would definitely recommend that. Okay, and very last bit. Sorry this is taking so long. I didn't anticipate it would take so long, but it has, and I have to pop down to be able to grab some in. Okay, I want to talk about radio plays and such that I like to listen to, because again, just as with books and films, I dot around all over the place. I'll listen to like one episode of something and I'll jump to another and another and another. So I have things like The Lord of the Rings, the BBC drama that they did in like the late, I think it was 80s, early 90s, which is absolutely incredible. Strongly recommend this. My dad got me into this because he had a copy, and I became kind of obsessed with it. So I bought my own copy. It got a bit busted when it got transported to me, but you know, it's just the outside cover. But this collection, all of the episodes are in this beautiful case. They're all gold. Each of the discs are all gold. You get a making of booklet. You get the Middle Earth map. I'm not going to unfold it because it took me ages to do that and then put it back again. But yeah, this collection is absolutely incredible. And Ian Holm plays Frodo Baggins in this, and he played Bilbo Baggins in the Peter Jackson films. So it's just, oh my god, I love the fact that he's in both of them, both versions. Comedy stuff that I like to listen to. Oh, sorry, links to, I missed this one, The Lord of the Rings. There's also The Hobbit. This one was made much earlier, but weirdly, this is one, it's the classic BBC radio production for like the 1970s. It got completely lost by BBC Archive. They didn't have a copy of it, and it turned out that one person randomly had a copy because they recorded it when it originally aired, and this is the audio from that taped copy. So it's not the best quality. I'll tell you that now. It's not the best quality sound-wise, but it's a good little adaptation, and it sticks pretty well to the book. So yeah, that's a good one. Comedy-wise, Old Harry's Game, a comedy about the devil. Just played by Andy Hamilton. It's written by Andy Hamilton. He plays a devil, and there's a professor who's in hell with him, who, the reason why he's there is because he had a car accident and he hasn't gone to heaven because he doesn't believe in God, but he believes that everything has a scientific purpose to it. Everything can be explained by science, and they have these kind of adventures, and the devil trying to outwit the professor, and it's a lot of fun. I think there's 4 series, and there's been various specials along the way as well, but Old Harry's Game, brilliant. Other comedies I like to listen to are like Neverwhere and Good Omens. These are adaptations of the Neil Gaiman books. Good Omens, Neil Gaiman also wrote with Terry Pratchett. Neil Gaiman makes cameos in both of these, and Terry Pratchett makes a cameo in Good Omens as well. They are both fantastically put together, created, cast, and yeah, awesome. And another comedy, Elven Quest, because Elven Quest is amazing. Earlier when I was talking about Frankenstein, I said how I did a radio drama. This is it. It's the radio sci-fi from, when is it? 2008 is when the CD was made, but I think it might be in that actual same year that it was created. But this is so good. It's strongly recommend. It's Michael Maloney who plays Frankenstein's monster, or Adam as he's referred to in the book, although he likes to be called Adam, isn't it? I think it is, yeah. It's, yeah, really awesome. And other ones that I've just got the printouts, because these are ones where ages ago I did a video about radio plays as such, and I printed off the cover of those that I've got downloads of, rather than, because I don't have physical copies, so I'm just going to quickly run off these. So we've got Dickens Women, there's the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes, the Miss Marple dramas, yeah, and then There Were None is another Miss Marple, Murder on the Orient Express, the BBC drama is awesome. Then there's dramas like David Copperfield, Nicholas Nickleby, Brief Encounter, 1984, that is awesome, with Christopher Eccleston. It's great. A couple of Tess of the D'Urbervilles, War and Peace, and Inspector Calls. And we have Anna Karenina, Les Miserables, Cabin Pressure is awesome, with John Finnemore. Also, more recently, I've really gotten into his series called John Finnemore's Souvenir Program. I don't have a printout of it or anything, but it's a series of sketches. 6 of the 7 series are currently available for you to download. The 7th series will come available, I think it's early January, early February, I can't remember which. But yeah, I strongly recommend his Souvenir Program. Blackadder, Fawlty Towers, the Reduced Shakespeare radio show, because that's a really great take on Shakespeare. And of course, because she is awesome, because I love her so much and really, really miss her still, even it's been like over a year now since she passed, or maybe it's 2 years even, the late, great, wonderful Victoria Wood. Okay, so that is only a few things that I like to read and listen to and watch, and it's taken me over an hour to explain those. There's so much stuff that I could also talk about, the things like Doctor Who and all that lot, and more recently like Strike, and everything. And obviously because of Netflix, I love watching Riverdale and all that jazz. There's so much stuff, but yeah, I'm one of these people, I kind of pick up and put things down in the winter. But thanks to this channel and the challenge and everything, it's made me stick to stuff at this time of year. But yeah, I'm one of these people. I love everything and anything at this time of year. I adore it. Are you guys like this? Sorry, my voice is about to give out. Are you guys like this? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on any of this stuff, or if you've got any recommendations of stuff that you like to read, watch, or listen to at this time of year. You can leave me a comment in the comments box below. You can give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, entirely up to you. I'll let you to decide what you think, what you want to say, and I'll be back soon with another video. All right, guys, bye.